Good evening, and welcome to the Speak Life podcast, featuring yours truly, your host, Cherie C. We're coming to you tonight with a special guest. Now, Speak Life podcast, you might ask, what is the Speak Life podcast all about? The Speak Life podcast is about finding your authenticity, living your life authentically, finding out that the 9 to 5 doesn't work and that there's something else that is waiting for you, something that is calling you. Our guest tonight has experienced similar things. She's a recording artist. She's a songwriter. She is an actress. She's traveled on tour with celebrities, and she's also a business owner. She worked a 9 to 5 for about 10 years and recently decided that she was going to live her life authentically. Her name is Tracy Jackson, and some of you might know her. Have seen her in her plays. She's been in some off-Broadway plays, and she is a celebrity, and she has sung background for a few people, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Tracy Jackson to the podcast. Hello, Tracy.
Hello, greetings to all.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm doing great.
Well, welcome to the Speak Life podcast. And I was explaining to our audience that the purpose of the Speak Life podcast is to encourage and inspire others who have a story. And your story is very interesting. I explained a little bit about, how you exited a job after 10 years and how you had, you're an actress, you're a songwriter, you're a singer, and your recent, I didn't even tell them about the pop-up store.
Yes.
So why don't you begin to tell us how everything all started for you in the beginning, when, working the regular 9 to 5, what got you started in pursuing your dreams?
Well, I can say I've worked since I was 14 years old. Summer jobs. I remember my first job was being a secretary at the age of 14 for a fire department. And that's when, they used to issue summer jobs with, paychecks. So from then on, I was always blessed. God has always blessed me with nice, decent jobs. I went into the school district for, I would say, 17 years. I've done banking. I've done credit unions, nice positions, back into the school district, and from the school district went into law enforcement, which I did not, I had no idea that I would ever be in law enforcement. I worked directly with the superintendent. I was management, in charge of 100 police officers, which then turned into 200 police officers.
Mm-hmm.
But in between those times, I've always sold female items such as handbags. I did a lot of handbags. Working for the school district, I did handbags. I used to bring bunch of handbags and jewelry to work, and the teachers would take these items into the teachers' lounge on their break. I would take huge, big, giant bags. I don't know if anybody remember those. We used to use these bags we used to get from the 99-cent store. They were plaited. They looked plaited.
Oh yeah,
they were
yeah.
Huge, and they were plaids. I used to put so many items in those bags. Fill up those bags with items. Those bags used to literally come back to me after those teachers take those items into the teacher's lounge. They would come back empty with orders. I want this one in red. Get me that one in green. And my handbags, I used to get unique handbags. I didn't go after, how the people do the knockoff designer bags. I didn't do that. I used to go for these unique looking, what nobody else had, that caught my eye, and they would sell out. So I've done that for a long time, along with jewelry, and get orders. I have people watch me and say, "Oh, sell this Mary Kay. You'd be so great at it. And I would say, "No, I wouldn't. No, because I'm not into Mary Kay like that."
That wasn't your niche. That was
not my niche.
Right.
So I stayed to what God has given me to do. He would prick my spirit. He would show me. He would speak to me. And by doing all this, it would always be in prayer. What's that scripture? Acknowledge me in all your ways, and I will direct your path.
Right.
So he would continuously speak to me on the avenue, even though people would be in my ear. The Holy Spirit, and that's the truth, would confirm the things that I'm supposed to be doing. So I've done this for years and kept a job.
Right.
I did both, and then that grew into me actually getting a bunch of items, and he naming my business and me vending different places. And my singing career, because I've sung since I was 8th grade. I did plays from 8 years old. As a matter of fact, that play I've done with Al B. Shore and Angie Stone was part. My teacher, who was my 3rd grade teacher when I was 8 years old, she actually attended that play.
Wow.
She came. I was 8 years old, and 8 years old turned to, how old was I when I did that play with Al B. Shore? I was like 50.
Tell us the name of that show, that play.
It was called Flow. And Al B. Shore, Angie Stone, Al Tariq, and there's Randy Witchwood. Randy Witchwood, if his name is out there too. He did I Love New York. He's famous for something like I Love New York. With his name is out there. He's done a lot of different things. He's done shows with Niecy Nash and everything. So I've worked with him in that play as well.
Okay, so what was your experience working with Al B. Shore?
Oh, God.
Al B. Shore was an icon from, the 80s and 90s. I can tell you how.
Yes, about you night
and day.
Yes. Well, it was a great experience, and the thing about that was the fellow who produced that, I've worked with him in the school districts.
Oh, okay.
So that's how he
So
knew
you
my
got the
talent.
connection, and
that's how he knew I sung, because all of the how they have the assembly. We had different things. He used to get me to, we need you to sing, Miss Jackson. Can you sing for this? So yes, that singing actually took me. I sung for the Lakers, the Kings, doing the national anthem. I did all of that in California. But coming back to this play, he sought me out, and he asked me to do this play with them, and I told him no at first. And I went to sleep, and the next morning, and this is how God does me all the time, early in the morning when I rise, he said, "You call that producer back." He said, "That's the door I open, and you will walk through it."
Wow.
I was like, oh. And don't you know, right before I picked the phone up, my phone rang again. It was that producer again. And he said, "Would you please reconsider?" I said, "Yes, I will. I will do it." He said, "Yes, I can put your name on." I said, "You can put my name on." So it was an experience working back there with Al B. Shore, because he was actually Flo, who was, the play was built around Flo, who was tossed between a mother who was I played a pastor. I was his mom. He wanted to get into the worldly, we think sometimes as Christian, everything is worldly if you're not a Christian.
Right.
He wanted to be a famous rapper. And we used to fight back and forth because he didn't want to go to church. And his father, which was Al B. Shore, he didn't know that was his father. His father owned a record company, which I kept all of that from him. because when I dated Albie Shore in the play, he used to abuse me. He was almost like a pimp for me.
Wow.
So all of that relationship, I had Flo, and Flo wanted to get into the business, and I kept the fact that his father owned a big record company. So that's how that went. And behind the scenes, honey, I had one of the biggest parts. Oh, my God. I was in just about every scene, if not every scene, every other scene. And you have to really stay focused. Working with Albie Shore, we used to steal away because we had parts that we had to interact together. Meeting someone who's so out there with a huge name, I've noticed that there was a lot of people, the first time he showed up, and we all showed up together, they would get so excited about this name person. And, you know, it's almost like they re-auditioned in front of him.
Right.
Now, when it came to me, I was like, I worked all day today. I had to travel from New Jersey, New York. I ain't trying to re-audition for nobody. I'm going over here, and I'm going to sit down and be humble till it's time for me to do my part. And I meant that.
Right.
I really did. I wasn't starstruck. I really wasn't.
So,
it was humbly. I was respectful. Mm-hmm. But I just wasn't, you know. And so we, you know, did the part, and we used to have to steal away. And I don't want to say too much, but we became really good friends by me being who I was called to be, who God has called me to be, who God calls me by my name, my daughter, not trying to be somebody I'm not.
Right.
That
being authentic. Being authentic.
Yes, for a humble, or just honest, clear, be yourself. I accept relationship. Right.
Now, one of the things that you said, Tracy, was you were 50 years old at that time.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you? Here you are working every day, 9 to 5, and then you get this call to go on tour and, you know, and work with a celebrity and, you know, and be in this play and traveling back and forth. What was that like for you? What did that feel like?
You know what it felt like? It felt because God had opened that door and he's the one who opened it. It felt like, do it. It was what I was supposed to do. So whatever God gives you to do, he equips. So I was already equipped for it because he called me to do it. And yes, at the time I was working for the police department. And that was this play. I think I left the police department maybe 3 years after I did that play.
Right.
About 3 or 4 years after. But it felt like, it didn't feel like a burden. It felt like, because I'm telling you, I literally had, when I was offered the part and I finally accepted, driving home one day, when he brought the play before me, I had to pull over because God's anointing hit me so hard.
Right.
I was like, whoa, and I pulled over and just started praising him because his presence, his anointing came upon me.
Right.
But it was him. It was his direction. You know, it's already made and paved out for us, Cherie. Mm-hmm. If you just walk in his goodness and his mercy and seek him, he will direct your path.
Right, because I was, you know, and one of the things that, you know, for our audience and the purpose for Speak Life, like I said, is inspiration and, you know, and getting people prepared to transition into that authentic self. Because, you know, most people at 50, it's like, oh man, you know, I used to think myself, Tracy, I used to think, oh, you know, if I haven't accomplished things by the time I'm 50, you know, I might as well hang it up. You know, it was always a fear of mine. But I'm learning that that's just a lie straight from the pit. You know, like you said, God could call you tomorrow and say, oh, somebody saw you, you know, they saw your show. And they could say, hey, you know, I want to use her, you know, I want her to be on this and that, you know, or, you know, and that could happen very easily. What's for you, like you said, is for you. So, you know, we need